podcast. All right, guys. This is Jared Gray with my co-host Jordan Rains and the Dynasty Chef Steve.
How you
How are
doing,
you guys
guys?
doing?
Yeah, what's up? It is Saturday, or not Saturday, it's Monday, September 9th. We just had our first NFL Sunday yesterday. We're going to be breaking down some studs for you guys for IDP from yesterday, some duds for IDP yesterday. There were plenty of both. And then we're going to go over some relevant injuries to keep an eye out throughout this week, leading up to next week, whenever we're going to be back at it again, trying to win some titles. So I think Jared's got some injuries for us, or relevant IDP injuries for us
I
to
do
rattle
have
off.
some crazy injuries today.
What we got?
Let's just go from the top down. First off, we had C.J. Mosley get injured against the Bills, suffering a groin injury after he had a pretty good game going with pick six and a fumble recovery. He left in the fourth quarter. Had a pretty good day before that with some big turnovers. After that, also on that team, Quincy Williams, the rookie, left with an ankle injury. So I don't know how severe that is yet. We're going to have to see how it's going to go. And
Monitor that.
yep, that's definitely something we'll check in on our Wednesday podcast to give you a live update, guys, during our live cast. Also, we have cornerback Jimmy Smith suffered a right knee injury against the Dolphins. Looks like he might miss significant time. He's about the only person that really got injured in that game. Besides that, the Baltimore Ravens destroyed the Miami Dolphins, and all their players want to leave now.
They completely crushed. Lamar Jackson looked fresh yesterday.
Yeah, he looked as good as everybody expected him to be, or as good as he did in Louisville when he won the Heisman Trophy. So
yeah, he looked
really solid play there. My next one would be Quincy Williams, which I was very high on this kid, and he has been on the injury report here and there, coming up to the NFL season, and now he has suffered a knee injury. It looks like he might miss significant time in that game. Obviously, they were playing the Kansas City Chiefs, and we all know the Kansas City Chiefs are a solid team.
Mm-hmm.
So could be a big loss for them because I think they were very high in this kid. I know that I was.
Well, they needed him, and he had a knee meniscus tear, I think, a couple of weeks ago in camp. So he missed a good bit of camp with a knee injury. And then, you saw the game yesterday. I'm sure Miles Jack got kicked out after like 20 snaps.
Yeah,
causing a ruckus. So they lost the linebacker. Yeah, we got two linebackers in that game, which I had Miles Jack in my top 15, and he was out of the game before the first quarter was over. So that kind of sucked.
Yeah, he went and apologized about that after the show.
Yeah, well, he should have.
Mm-hmm.
He shouldn't have been acting like that.
No.
But
yeah, he actually had to be dragged off the field, which was kind of childish.
Yeah.
I saw Calais Campbell came over and put his arm around him. It's kind of crazy. You forget Calais Campbell's twice the size of everybody in the
NFL. That guy is a man.
Yeah, he's a beast.
No, he's not a man. He's a monster.
Yeah, he's a monster among men.
The rest of those guys are men, and he's just
a towering force.
Yes, he's a tree.
But that does suck about Quincy Williams. Or not Quincy. Yeah, Quincy. Quentin and Quincy. That sucks they both got hurt.
Yeah, both brothers got hurt. Do we have a Bosa problem here?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Don't even do that. The Bosa brothers did good yesterday. They both played a decent number of snaps. They both had a sack.
Yep, both played well. But funny thing is, I actually dropped Nick Bosa for Sheldon Richardson yesterday. Because Sheldon Richardson went off.
But
I didn't need defensive end tackle. I need a defensive tackle in my group. So and Sheldon Richardson went off.
Any other big injuries?
I have another big one right here. We're gonna have to go with the Redskins defensive tackle Jonathan Allen.
Oh yeah, that hurt me bad.
That was a big one. I've been high on him, especially with as many injuries and problems that they've had in general. That was a big one.
Yeah, they said apparently it's an MCL sprain, and he might be out several weeks, or at least several weeks. So
yeah, I would say you got to be easy with that. He's one of your studs on the team, so he's definitely a guy you have to be easy with. And man, that could be a tough loss if he really hurts himself. So you got to be easy with him.
Yeah, they got a good line though with some guys that could come in.
Also, we have defensive end Caleb Brantley suffered an injury yesterday. Not super big deal, but he, being an IDP relevant guy, he's definitely somebody you have to look at. Eric Weddle left yesterday's game, did not return due to head laceration. He'll be fine, no big deal.
Yeah, just looks like a bad cut, but he was
It
covered
just
in blood. I don't know if you
looked
guys actually
wicked.
saw the shot. Yeah,
Yeah,
he
it was
pulled
a
his
pretty
helmet
solid.
off, and it looked like somebody just dumped a bucket of blood on his head, and it was just dripping down his face.
A big one from yesterday for Minnesota was Mackenzie Alexander was ruled out, had a dislocated elbow. It was pretty nasty actually looking on the sideline, and then looks like they popped back in. I think he's gonna be fine overall. Not too big of a deal. Another one, the Bills, Taron Johnson pulled a hamstring. Kind of just one of those normal easy deals. A big one though. Malik Jackson was carted off the field yesterday. So
Now, I was reading something later on about that. He's saying it was a minor injury.
yeah,
But he was
it looks
spotted
like
with a walking boot.
Yep. They took the precautions. I think more than anything. So I still think he's going to miss a little bit of time. Last night's game, T.J. Watt and Joe Hayden both got injured. Both did not come back in the game. A hip for T.J. Watt, shoulder for Joe Hayden.
Yeah,
So,
that's no bueno.
That it seems like, man, it was just a big weekend for injuries. Guys getting kicked out of games. I mean, just you know how week one is. It's crazy, man. I mean, do you really follow it? You don't know, and you don't really know how to take some of that.
Who was the other linebacker that got kicked out of a game? It was Miles Jack and Quan Alexander.
Yep,
he got kicked out.
Yep.
He got
Quan
ejected.
Alexander got, and then
But wasn't this for a hit that he did?
Yeah, he was a helmet target or something like that. I think.
A crazy incident yesterday in the Browns game. They had like 17 penalties for 180 something yards in that game, like 3 turnovers by Baker Mayfield. It looks really more like he was trying to come back strong, but he lost his left tackle back-to-back plays.
Yeah, I saw that. They had like literally some nobody was in there protecting him.
Yeah, and when you really think about it, and we talked
really
about the
protection at that point.
Well, yeah, literally when you're protecting, especially your left tackle, who that's the blind side. It seems like you tend to see more forced plays, and I think that was kind of crazy, especially when you set a guy that you went and got in Whiteteller, or the Wyatt kid from Buffalo. They sat him and the second round draft pick, who we talked about yesterday right before the games. So they were down to their last 5 offensive linemen, period, after those two. One got ejected, one got hurt. So kind of nuts. That was a crazy incident.
Yeah. Any
Definitely.
other big injuries? Are we ready to get into the studs and duds? Or
I think I'm definitely ready to get into the studs and duds portion of our show.
All right.
I know that we had a group of. Do you want? Luckily, there's been more studs than duds yesterday.
There really was, but the duds were pretty bad.
But the duds
there were plenty of duds.
Definitely in a spot where we just did not expect some of these guys. It's nuts.
Yeah, well, I'll go ahead and I'll just go ahead and lead it off. Then Jared and I are both gonna do a stud of the week. I'll go ahead and do mine first. It was my dude Sam Hubbard.
Ooh, yeah.
In Seattle, played 81% of snaps, had 10 tackles yesterday as a defensive end, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and 4 QB hits, which amounted to essentially him being the second highest scoring IDP player of the week. So far, there's still 2 games tonight, but he was only behind Cory Littleton, who's Jared's dud, who he'll talk about in a minute, give you the rundown on him. But second only to him in IDP points scored this week so far. The dude he was wrecking faces up there in Seattle. It was a beautiful thing to watch. I've had my eye on Hubbard all since earlier this offseason. He had the thing I liked about him is his tackles, which he, solidified. He got 10 tackles. If you can get a defensive end that's closing off the edge and getting tackles, that's what you want for a baseline for an IDP guy. And he, last season he didn't play very many snaps, and he still was a high tackle producer last season. So let's put it this way: he had 39 tackles last year. He had 10 yesterday, so he's already put up 25% of his total overall 18 production at tackle in one game. This dude he's going in my lineups next week. I have him on a taxi squad in the league. I have him on my bench in the league. I just lost Jonathan Allen. He's pretty much for me. I'm gonna be starting him every week because the momentum is there. I mean, he's already rolling. So he's my stud of the week. I'm gonna let Jared break down Littleton for you guys, and then we'll go ahead and rattle off the rest of them after that. But Jared, tell us about your dude Littleton. How'd he do yesterday?
Well, yesterday I definitely planted my flag on Cory Littleton before the game started. I've been very high on the guy. He got a chance. Somebody got injured. They let him play. This guy went bonkers. He had 14 total tackles, played 100% of snaps, right? 3 pass deflections, an interception, a fumble recovery. This guy went fucking bonkers yesterday, guys. And I've been really high on him. He tied for first in total tackles. But for fantasy, he was number 1 defensive player in fantasy. Right? And in that aspect, very happy I called on that one. Really happy about this kid. Back to Sam Hubbard for you. You and me have been very high on this kid for the last 3 months. We knew what people were getting out of that kid when he came out of college, and pretty excited about what he did yesterday. And like you said, he's already got 25% of what he did last year in one game. Cincinnati had to be the most surprising defense of the entire day for me.
Yeah, and they should have won that. I mean, they were, a breath away from winning that game in Seattle.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. And it's because of the defense. That's why.
Yeah, the defense balled out. And I smashed on the quarterback there yesterday, and you said he was going to have a good game. Well, he did. He had the best game of his career.
Yeah. But Andy Dalton, what up?
But when it came clutch time, the only thing that really held them together was that defense was stout yesterday. And it was anchored by Sam Hubbard, who had 10 tackles. And that's
led the team in tackles.
Yeah, led the team in tackles. Had 2 sacks. I mean, that's crazy.
On 81% of snaps.
Yep. So you were entirely right about him, Jared.
Yeah. That's as much Jordan as it is me, because we've been
absolutely.
We've been all over him for about 3 months. When everybody's downing Cincinnati's team, you and me were talking about it before. Could it be
all he needs to do is get on the field? That's the thing. When he was on the field last year, he was wrecking people, but he wasn't getting a lot of snaps. And I was, my thought process all off season, and what I was saying was, if he can get out there, I don't see why he can't just keep producing like that. I mean, he did it consistently with less snaps. Now he played 81% of snaps. He had a huge game. So, like I said, he's a locked-in starter for me probably the rest of the way. I know that might be kind of crazy to say right now, but 10 tackles, 2 sacks. I mean, let's not overthink this. I'm playing him. It's that simple for me.
Yep, that's how I feel about Cory Littleton as well.
Just regret I didn't start him.
Yeah, I didn't start him in a couple of leagues. Like I said, he's on a taxi squad in one. He put up 50 points. He's definitely coming off the taxi squad ASAP. And I lost Jonathan Allen in my main dynasty league, so he's going to be replacing Allen. Let's go ahead and talk about some of these other studs we got here. 2 more D-line studs. We got Myles Garrett, played 90% of snaps yesterday. 5 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. And Joey Bosa, another stud, 86% of snaps, 8 tackles, 1 sack, 1 tackle for loss. Those are some good numbers, but they're still second, behind Sam Hubbard. But the Myles Garrett thing kind of blows me away. For as many snaps as he played, I honestly thought he would be a little bit more productive.
It's the penalties, man. I mean, so many penalties. I mean, the defense had – at one time had 8 penalties, or no, was it? Yeah, 8 penalties with 7 that caused 7 first downs.
That's crazy.
I mean, what are you going to do there?
Every time you turned around,
you're toast. Like, there's just nothing you can do.
There was just some sloppy football all around.
They might as well just left the yellow flag on the ground out there.
The big. I knew that the Browns were in trouble when that Hilliard guy got the goal line carry. I was like, this game is our. I mean, we're Matt Nagy in this motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like, why does Chubb have 1 carry on this whole drive?
What's crazy is he really did have 1 carry because that was one of the only penalties during that drive that that Tennessee had. because he had a first down and they got another first down because of it, because there was a face mask or something.
Gotcha.
Also, in that game, and just the penalties killed him. So you're seeing a lot of play out of Myles Garrett, and we expected him to do well, but he would have had at least 2 more sacks if it wasn't for penalties. And that's crazy to me. He'd have had 3 more tackles. So, we plant our flag on that one, and
he's still a locked-in DE1. Same with Joey Bosa. That game was kind of crazy too. The Chargers and the Colts. I didn't expect it to be that close.
Yeah, you definitely called Kazir White out yesterday. Finished top 11 in total tackles.
I got a couple more. He's on the studs list. I'm just going to rattle off the next few guys I got. I got John Johnson, 100% snaps, 11 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. Thomas Davis for the Chargers. It was his first game with the Chargers, played 100% snaps, tied leading tackles for the week so far with 14 with your boy Littleton. And Jordan Hicks also played 100% of snaps, had 14 tackles. And then Kazir White, who you were just referencing, he played 86% of snaps yesterday, that's definitely a worth noting. He's going to be a guy that I'm going to be, I've gotten him in a couple of leagues, but I'm going to keep trying to acquire him because, he can play safety and he can play linebacker. He's a little bit younger than Thomas Davis, aka a lot younger. If Davis is out there playing 100% of snaps, he's a little bit of an older gentleman. Maybe he's going to get a little banged up for too long, and then Kazir White might be the guy playing 100% of snaps. He put up 9 tackles yesterday and a tackle for loss, so that's not bad for coming back from the injury that he had.
Completely agree. Another guy that we've talked about is Trey Boston. It doesn't seem where this guy goes, he just balls out.
Yeah, 9 tackles, 100% of snaps, and he just got signed, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
So that's pretty incredible.
He's a boss. He really is.
I'm just going to read off the rest of the studs here real quick, and then we can go back and pick through them. We got Budda Baker. That's on brand for me. Love that dude. Played 100% of snaps, had 8 tackles. I had him ranked as my second safety on the week, which he wasn't the number 2 safety, but he still finished in the top 6-7, so that's good. He's listed as a strong safety when I was looking at the data and at free safety, so I don't really know what his official snap percentages were at each position.
He's Budda Baker.
Yeah, exactly. He's Budda Baker. It doesn't matter where he plays. He's going to get 6 to 8 tackles every week at least.
The dude's a baller.
Yeah. Jordan Poyer for the Bills, 100% of snaps, 9 tackles and a sack. Matt Milano, keep an eye on this guy, 100% of snaps yesterday for the Bills, coming off injury, 9 tackles. Had more than Tremaine Edmonds, who we're all very high on. The whole community is very high on, as we should be. Quentin Jefferson. Now, this is kind of I almost put him in my surprise segment, but he balled out. 65% of snaps, 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 passes defended, 2 tackles for loss. He was out there putting on a show right across from Sam Hubbard, on the other side of the ball. And that's, he's part of the reason that the Bengals didn't win. He was out there. He was a playmaker on the defensive side of the ball in a way that not many of the other guys on the Seahawks were. We got Tracy Walker, 100% of snaps, 9 tackles, all solo on that one. That's definitely
he did a good job too.
Yeah,
he had an interception too, didn't he?
I didn't see that anywhere.
Couple few pass deflections.
He may have. I didn't see that anywhere on there, but I could have missed it. I got Harrison Smith, 100% of snaps, 9 tackles, 2 pass deflections. Anthony Harris, this is another safety in Minnesota, 100% of snaps. Nothing real big on the tackles, but he had 2 interceptions yesterday on Matt Ryan, so that boosted his numbers real high. And then we got 2 more guys on our duds segment. We got Xavier Woods, safety for the Cowboys, 11 tackles on 99% of snaps. And Devin Bush, 76% of snaps last night, but he had 11 tackles on that, which is that's on brand for Devin Bush. For everything we've seen from him has been good. So, what are those guys were you most impressed by, Jared and Steve? What are you guys thinking? For me, it's probably Matt Milano coming back from his injury, playing 100% of snaps, and
pretty good
with 9 tackles.
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna have to go with Matt Milano. Was definitely one of the biggest surprises in general. I don't think anybody really saw that one coming.
No, and to outpace Edmonds, nobody, would have said that.
For me, Quentin Jefferson was 65% of snaps and still getting 6 tackles, 2 sacks, 2 pass deflections, and 2 tackles for loss. It's bonkers.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I mean, to make the most of your time, right?
Yeah, barely in there over half the game, and
when you make the most of your time, that's the key to happiness, and that's what
he's going to get more snaps.
Yeah, I truly believe he could definitely climb in the snap category, and
his stats are going to get better too.
Yeah, really proud of that guy. I'd like to see all that happen for him.
Jadeveon Clowney played about 62% of snaps, I think. He didn't really do a whole lot. I think he ended up with 1 sack. I didn't put him in our stud segment. But
I did say he was going to play 60%.
Yeah, you pretty much nailed that on the nose.
I was lucky on that one. I'll say that more than often. So
I say they'll work him in more.
Yeah, definitely.
Really crazy. I'm Jordan Hicks. I mean, he's exactly what they traded for.
He's exactly what they traded. And he's, everyone's like, well, he's going to get hurt. I don't care. I mean, a lot of people get hurt. If he's one of the top, I mean, he was on my top. I think I had him at 13 this week. And I mean, he went out there and he produced like a beast. Yeah, I had him at 13 at linebackers for week 1. I had Matt Milano at 23. They both went out there and did work. Xavier White was also on my top 24. He did work. But Jordan Hicks, I mean, Hassan Reddick didn't really do much yesterday. He played a decent number of snaps, but didn't do a whole hell of a lot with them. Jordan Hicks is the guy you want to own there for sure.
Yeah, again, crazy list. Good Harrison Smith. You talked a little hit on. 9 tackles, 2 pass deflections.
I've heard a little bit of people talking a little bit down on him in the offseason is, he's not a great IDP option. And in my head, I'm like, why? Like, he's had 1 or 2 downish years, but, like, if you watch him play, he tackles like a stud.
He reminds me so much of John Lynch.
He reminds me of
so much.
Like a little bit of a skinnier Cam Chancellor almost, he's out there and he's there to hurt people. And he plays like when he stalks around the field. Like, he doesn't walk around, like he stalks around, like he's hunting. Like, I love it. I love watching him play.
Yeah, he definitely comes downhill. Xavier Woods was definitely one of the biggest surprises, I think, for most people. 11 tackles, playing 99% of snaps. He's actually available in one of my leagues. I've got to go get him, especially before everybody hears this podcast. So it's going to be awesome. That kid is definitely a stud. He's surprising me, more than I expected. And I like him in that row. I like that they're moving Byron Jones to corner, him back there. So a healthy Xavier Woods is obviously showing to be pretty stout at 11 tackles.
Yep. Anything else like that maybe we missed on studs? Any guys that you guys, maybe weren't a stud but are on the up and up that I missed here?
We talked a little bit about Devin Bush. He really surprised me in the second half, came on strong with 11 tackles and only playing 76% of snaps.
Yeah, he was quiet early on. I actually didn't finish that game because I was I don't want to say I was bored with them. I'm a Steelers fan, and I called them to win, and they were getting mopped.
Well,
so
they were getting destroyed.
It was bad. I mean, it was just bad.
The Patriots looked.
And then the Patriots are up
really
25, 30 points, and they're not rushing the ball. They're not. They're just throwing over the top, over and over. I mean, it was cruel. It was like when I played Madden with my buddies. I suck at Madden, and they just bury me.
Oh,
and I'm
man.
just, it's the third quarter, and I have a field goal, and they have like 50 points. I mean, it literally looked like that. Just over the top. Philip Dorsett's just screaming wide open down the middle.
Oh, man.
Looking like Tyreek Hill out there.
Yeah,
like, what the hell is going on here?
It was embarrassing.
And then meanwhile, Big Ben can barely throw it over his line. I don't know. That was a mess.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, just a monster day for some guys. For me, when you were going to talk about, guys that I guess performed really well, but we know a lot of people aren't really talking about Shaq Thompson next to Luke Kuechly. He finished with the 9 tackles. Really surprised about that. Some guys I'm not really surprised about at all. Bobby Wagner, that dude's a stud. I did say yesterday the guy that I would start over somebody else was Fred Warner, and he had 9 tackles.
Yep. Over Cunningham. Yep. Well, let's see how Cunningham does now. I started Fred Warner in a league, and he kind of got lucky. Not lucky, but I mean, when Quan went out, you kind of knew that he was going to be getting work. So
it's crazy how many DBs are in the top 25. Pretty awesome. Tremaine Johnson, We've got guys, obviously Buda Baker that we always been on. Tracy Walker out of Detroit had a heck of a game, even though they ended up,
tying.
Which what a great comeback by.
Yeah, I will give Arizona some credit. I mean, they should have been buried, but they fought back. I will give them that.
You should give some of that credit to Detroit too.
And and Detroit did what they do, which is not win games. I mean,
exactly.
That's on brand for Detroit is to not win.
Did you? Oh, that timeout.
Yeah, I
missed it because I was talking.
They called
the
timeout.
Oh,
yeah, they called the timeout. Would have scored or
would have at least got the first down.
Yeah, probably would have scored a touchdown, but they would have at least got a first down. And he called the timeout right before they ran the play.
Well, you know how Matt Patricia is.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't Matt.
Oh, it was Bevel.
It was Bevel, but you know how Bevel does ruins everybody's offense. So,
does he even have a job today?
Oh man!
They'll have jobs. They don't have to have jobs. They'll probably make more money than the three of us combined over the next 3 or 4 weeks. For a year.
I'd have gone in there and been like, "Dude, you're fired."
Yeah.
Game management really is. That's the most underrated part of Bill Belichick's game is he doesn't do boneheaded shit like that, and it really, a lot of games come down to stuff like that.
They might. Man, that was a really bad decision though. He's over there and you just see him timeout.
Yeah.
It was a fun game to watch in the background, though. I mean, it was.
Well, let's talk some duds. We had some IDP bed shitters big time this week. Let's just go straight to the top. Reigning defensive MVP Aaron Donald, 84% of snaps against Cam Newton, who loves to get sacked and loves to get knocked over and loves to stand on the sideline crying. Aaron Donald goes out and puts up a grand total of 1 tackle yesterday, guys.
One tackle.
84% of snaps. That's got to be close to the highest percentage of snaps D linemen played over this week. I don't know that. I don't know the exact number compared to everybody else, but the only guy I saw that played more than that was Myles Garrett so far and Joey Bosa.
Especially in a win.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how did he? I don't know. 1 tackle, that scares me. In a game that and especially knowing, like I said, Cam Newton, he loves to get thrown to the ground. I mean, he loves to run around back there. I'm a little bit concerned about Aaron Donald. I'll go ahead and read off the rest of these duds, and then we can pick through them. Frank Clark, who was in my top 5 D linemen for this week, he went out and produced 1 tackle and 1 interception on 78% of snaps. DeForest Buckner, 76% of snaps, 2 tackles. All 3 of those guys I had in my top 10 at D linemen, so they really let me down. Ryan Kerrigan, this one shocked me. Ryan Kerrigan played 77% of snaps yesterday. He had 1 tackle. Ryan Kerrigan is a guy that doesn't happen to. This one shocked me too. Another guy, I had him in my top 5 at safety, Keanu Neal, 94% of snaps yesterday. This is a former All-Pro safety. Dude got 1 tackle yesterday.
Agree with that for sure.
Jayon Brown, I had him high. He had 90% of snaps, 2 tackles, 2 pass deflections. Deion Jones, 5 tackles yesterday, 62% of snaps. Both of the Cincinnati safeties let you down pretty bad with 98% of snaps for Sean Williams, 4 tackles, and 100% of snaps for Jesse Bates, 5 tackles. And then one other guy.
Well, the main reason with that one is because the front 7 was so good.
Yeah, exactly. Hubbard was they were taking care of business. And then I put Raekwon McMillan in there too with 3 tackles on 29% of snaps. But those guys are all, I can't imagine a league where these guys weren't all played, I
think it's funny that you mentioned Donald and Clark first, because those are the 2 guys that I started over Hubbard.
Oh, dude. And that was the right decision. But
it was, but those are both the guys that I shouldn't have started over Hubbard.
Yeah. But those guys all let you down.
What's funny? Devontae Freeman had as many tackles as Aaron Donald did.
Oh, my God. That's ridiculous.
Devontae Freeman, I don't know.
Not that Freeman did great.
No, he had a horrible game. And you were right on that one. I'll give you that. You were right on that one.
He's going to have a horrible season.
D Ford, 1 tackle.
Oh, I didn't even put him in there. Yeah, he didn't. He didn't play a whole hell of a lot of snaps, though. I think he played 50-something, 60-something maybe.
Still, one
tackle. Nothing more than that.
Just nuts to me. Everson Griffin was a big one, 1 tackle.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, I missed that one.
I definitely was going to start him for sure.
Somebody else.
I mean, this
pretty good.
this is just crazy. I mean, you got some of the younger cats. Well, I expect rookies and stuff like that to get one tackle. I don't expect, studs.
You don't expect Keanu Neal playing 90% of snaps plus to get one tackle.
And
That's
I get that it's his first game back, really.
But still, it's 90% of snaps, dude. Like, come on. 94% of snaps. I mean, I don't know. I don't know about all that.
Especially with as much as they were running the ball. It's not like they were, that's why, because they were running the ball so much.
Good. These are, I mean, on the flip side, these are good buy low opportunities on all these guys. Aaron Donald, Frank Clark, DeForest Buckner. I'm not scared of them, but I mean, this is a good buy low opportunity. Keanu Neal, Deion Jones. If you get a guy out there who's tilting, which I know I'm tilting, I'm sure a lot of other people are tilting. You could probably get these guys for less than market value, or market value probably went down a lot as compared to 2 days ago. Frank Clark, like I said, several of these D linemen were in my top 10. They really hurt me, but that's the nature of the beast in IDP. And that's why you want to find guys that have good tackle floors, which is again running back up to Hubbard. He's a guy that I've had my eye on because even though minimal snaps, he seems to always get tackles. If the sacks don't come, the big plays don't come, you have to fall back on those. And I was really, really, really disappointed in DeForest Buckner. Not going to lie. I think he'll come back better next week, obviously. Frank Clark, same. But 3 tackles between the two of them, 4 between them and Aaron Donald. It's just not pretty.
No, it's not. T.J. Watt didn't have a good game either. Obviously got hurt, but he only had 2 tackles.
They game planned against him, though. I don't know if I did notice that early on. They were doing everything to make sure that T.J. Watt did not get anywhere near Tom Brady.
Yeah, for sure.
And he played a ton of snaps last night. He was wearing the green dot, so he was calling the plays. He was out there more snaps than Bush was. But they were doing everything in their power to make sure he was getting chip-shotted by the running backs as well as getting double-teamed. So,
yeah, I told everybody to stay away from Wesley Woodard this year. I even had somebody start him against me in the league, which was laughable. He had 2 tackles, so I just got to mess with him a little bit. But we're saying that with Evans and Brown being the starters there, they didn't perform either.
Yeah, Brown didn't do anything. Evans had a decent-ish game. I think he had 6 or 8 tackles.
I mean, Brown had a chance to have an interception the first drive of the game, first play of the game, actually, from Baker Mayfield. And after that, Baker started rolling them off and then fell apart in the second half. But, yeah, man, it just was a crazy week with injuries and seeing different guys just completely fall apart that we expected to really have a big day for us. We still have got one more game tonight.
Yeah, we got 2 games tonight, don't we?
Yeah. So
we got Houston versus the Saints, and then we got the Raiders and the Broncos.
Which is interesting, right? You got a rivalry game / divisional
games. Yep. And we got some very relevant IDP players on both sides of the ball in both those games. Cameron Jordan, we got Kiko Alonso,
Simmons,
Justin Reed, Justin Simmons.
Be interesting to see how Kiko Alonso does on his new team.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what kind of snaps Kiko Alonso plays tonight. I'm also interested to see how the Raiders deploy their linebackers. And I'm also very interested to see how the Broncos deploy their linebackers.
Yeah.
So that'll be one to watch for sure. I pulled out Zach Cunningham from a lineup last night. Full disclosure, I lost all but 1 or 2 of my leagues this week. So I pretty much am just bleh today. Not feeling too great.
Felt rough.
But we'll come back stronger next week. But I was down like 60 points, so I just pulled Cunningham and I played TJ Watt last night just for the hell of it.
Okay, why not?
Well, let's talk. I got some week 1 surprises here. I don't know.
I wanted to bring up Anthony Barr because I noticed he did okay.
Yeah, he did. He ended up coming out and having a decent game. That he started out with that sack early, didn't he?
Yeah, he had a sack and then 6 tackles.
Nice. That's a lot more than I would have put on him.
Yeah, it's just kind of a surprise for me.
Yeah, I don't own him anywhere.
There we go. Surprise of the week, Anthony Barr.
I mean, I don't know about that. For me, obviously that dude's he was a stud coming out of college. He's always played pretty decent. but he has been injured a little bit.
Yeah.
But I told you yesterday I was a little worried about that game, even with because Theon Jones was on the waiver wire with somebody on a single IDP player league, and I stayed away from him. And I'm getting another guy, obviously, in Tremaine Edmonds, who they basically performed the same way. Both had 5 tackles, I believe. In that aspect, Anthony Barr is a guy that we expect to play more like Kendricks, or Kendricks being the guy, but Anthony Barr is the more athletic because Kendrick's just a little older. So in that group, I would agree with you.
Definitely surprised with a good floor. I got some surprise guys here. I got big surprise for me. Taylor Rapp, 8 tackles yesterday on 48% of snaps for the Rams.
Wow.
And with Weddle getting his head knocked in a little bit, that might be something to monitor. He might be out there a little bit more than we anticipated if his sutures aren't completely healed up from his cut or whatever. So keep an eye on Taylor Rapp. Juan Thornhill played 100% of snaps for the Chiefs yesterday. These are both rookie safeties. 100% of snaps for Juan Thornhill.
And he had a good game.
Yeah, and he had a good game. I mean, he deserved to play all those snaps. I know you have covered him over the summer in your rookie top 24 rookies, and you were pretty high on him.
Yeah, he was I believe he was number 9 for me.
Yeah, I think he was the top 10 guy.
So pretty glad I planted my flag on that guy before the season.
Another thing about Taylor Rapp and Eric Weddle. How old is Weddle? Like 34?
Weddle's older.
Yeah,
he's 33,
dude, he ain't going to be around much longer either.
Yeah, in Dynasty, Rapp is definitely a buy right now, for sure. Especially with the linebacking core just being Cory Littleton essentially by himself there. Clay Matthews did a little something yesterday. I think he had 3 tackles.
But Clay Matthews, how old's he?
Another 30-plus-year-old guy.
Yeah.
Yep. I expect him to – I mean, obviously Cory Littleton's the boss in that group. And John Johnson in the background of those two, your 2 young bucks who –
And they're both going to get some big contracts probably next season.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for them not to sign those guys to a high-paying gig.
The Rams might dick around and they might get signed somewhere else. Either way, they deserve it with what they do. A couple more surprises on here. Montez Sweat, rookie for the Redskins. 5 tackles, 1 tackle for loss. He played 68% of snaps. I just kind of thought that was interesting considering Kerrigan played 77% of snaps, only had 1 tackle. So Montez Sweat is out there making a name for himself.
And they went and got him because – and it kind of makes you wonder. I even covered it in my IDP 401. He's also one of my top 25 guys who – for a defensive tackle to do what he does and more, I guess you can say maybe an outside linebacker. But, I covered him early in the summer, said he was going to be a top 25 rookie for me. He's just an athlete, and he had like a heart murmur or something like that. So it kind of makes you wonder, do NFL guys put this stuff out to steer them away? And they went and got him. I mean, it's not like they waited on him, so they went. He was
a top 3 D lineman prospect early in the draft season, and then when that came out, he just dropped like a rock on boards. I mean, he was up there right back to back with like Josh Allen and a couple of other. I mean, like him and Josh Allen, Brian Burns. For me, I remember like those guys were the top guys. I know Clelin Ferrell ended up getting taken pretty high, but I remember Sweat was one of those guys where people were talking him up as he might be the best one in this class. So, and I mean, he went out there on 68% of snaps and he gave you IDP points. So it's worth monitoring. I mean, he seems like he's going to be a stud.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to be a beast. That's why I was high on him early. I'm still high on him, and I'm not high on that team. So
yeah,
we'll see what they do.
Here's another interesting one that Sean Dion Hamilton, which everybody was kind of, I mean, whenever the linebackers in Washington were getting, tumultuous over the summer, Sean Dion Hamilton was the hotness. He was the guy you go pick up. He's going to be the guy that's going to play the middle linebacker. He's going to get all these tackles, I think he played 41% of snaps. I think he had 2 or 3 tackles. Literally nothing to write home about.
Because Cole Holcomb blew up.
Yeah, I was going to say, this Cole Holcomb dude had 68% of snaps, 9 tackles, 2 tackles for loss.
Cole Holcomb's going to be the starter every single.
Oh yeah, he starts.
I bet he jumped
people.
he's going to jump in snap counts.
Yeah,
I bet he gets up to 75 to 80.
That's baller status. That's baller status on 68% of snaps right there. I have this other one here, a little sigh of relief, but also a little bit of worry. Minkah Fitzpatrick, 7 tackles. That's dope. You want to see that. But he only played 64% of snaps yesterday. That is not what you want from a guy who's supposed to be a starting strong safety in your IDP lineup. So I still think he's a baller. I still think he's going to get, produced like he did yesterday. But I don't like seeing 64% of snaps at all.
And a lot of the players, like apparently rumor has it, and it's all over everywhere, that a lot of the players called their agent want to be traded from Miami.
That doesn't surprise me. They got rid of some of their leaders, or some of their better players. I mean, I look at leaders and better players kind of in a similar fashion. If a guy balls, you kind of look up to him. You want him to succeed. You want to help him. Kenny Stills, for all of his off-field whatever, it doesn't matter. He was one of their better players, and they dealt him. Tunsil, they paid a high pick for him a few years back. He's one of the better left tackles in the league. They dealt him, and when you're on a team and you see your boys disappearing, and not just like scrubs, like we're just selling them down the river, some of your better players, I'd be a little pissed. I think that I don't think that things are looking really bad in Miami. Let's just put it that way. They just got destroyed by Baltimore. And, not to say Baltimore's not good. They must be good. They did that. But that was a shellacking. Like, that was an all-out, ass kicking. And they didn't seem like they could do anything to even slow it down.
Yeah, completely agree. It's just shocking to see the butt whooping that happened yesterday. And that stuff happens.
Which on the flip side was just kind of crazy. There wasn't really any big IDP guys from the Ravens yesterday. I think Patrick Onsuar had 10 total tackles, but he was like the biggest guy. He had the biggest day for their team. I know Tony Jefferson didn't do much.
Just a couple tackles.
Earl Thomas didn't do much. Chris Board didn't do shit.
Earl Thomas saved himself by having that interception. Besides that, he had 2 tackles. So
quiet day for them, except for Patrick Onsuar, who played 98% of snaps. I know the other 2 linebackers didn't even touch like 80. So that's pretty much all I got for surprises. Anybody else kind of jump off the board as you guys yesterday? Anybody you guys are monitoring going into this next week?
Definitely this next week. There's some decent games for sure, and. I wouldn't say that they start right away, but when we're talking about Thursday night's games, Panthers against the Buccaneers, I'm going to guess the Panthers might blow up against the Buccaneers, so just be ready for that. The Buccaneers did not look good.
They were
bad, real bad.
Yeah, it was rough to watch. A game that could be interesting because the Cardinals played so good in the second half. The Cardinals play the Ravens. But they play at Baltimore.
I'm very excited about that game this next week.
So in that game, I think you could see
that Ravens offense looked stellar.
Yeah, but also that defense for the Cardinals looked pretty stellar. We, 2 of those guys,
Buda Baker, Jordan
Buda
Hicks.
Baker, and Jordan. Yeah,
they're locked into lineups right now.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun game. You can see some players.
Yeah.
Oh, that Ravens defense looked pretty good too.
Overall. But again, they played Miami, who looks like they're tanking. We're not tanking. We're here to win. We're starting Kalen Ballage. Give me a break, guys.
Yeah.
The Chargers-Lions play next week. It's at Detroit, but man, the Chargers were pretty solid yesterday overall.
Yeah, there was that outside linebacker for the Lions who had 3 sacks. He led the league in sacks so far this week. He had 3. What's his name? His name was Devin Kennard. I'd literally never heard of him till yesterday. I won't even lie to y'all.
Yeah, who is this? Who is this guy?
He had 3 sacks. He played like 90-something% of snaps. So he's definitely someone to monitor. Maybe go pick up if you've got some of these bums that crap the bed this week, or just some guys that you're just kind of holding to see what happens. He looks like he might be. He's going to be a pass rusher there. So, I've got some snap count observations, just a few that I wrote down based on what I was looking at. We're not going to go too in depth here, but I figured it would be worth noting. I'll just kind of read them off to you guys and see what you think. But for the Jets, we had Neville Hewitt, linebacker, played 99% of snaps. He was in there with Mosley. Blake Cashman, the rookie, only played 32%. Ed Oliver, D tackle for the Bills, played 65% of snaps yesterday. The Miami linebackers, they broke down like this. It was Jerome Baker with 94. Sam, I'm just going to call him Ego. Sam Ego played 88%. And then McMillan, we said earlier, played 29. Nick Bosa played 56% of snaps for the Chargers, D4 59. And then the Washington linebackers broke down like this. Bostic with 88. Sweat with 68. Holcomb with 68, and then Sean Dion Hamilton, like I said earlier, only played 41%. And then the Giants breakdown was Alec Ogletree was in there for 100% of snaps. Lorenzo Carter was in there for 74% of snaps. And then the Tate Davis kid, who we've kind of had an eye on, was getting a little steam last couple of weeks. He played 46% of snaps. So
he wasn't in there very much, was he?
No, he wasn't. So those are just some guys. It kind of shows you who they want to play. Neville Hewitt is probably going to be somebody that I'm going to be targeting on some waivers this week if he's still out there. Big if there. He's definitely going to be a hot waiver wire pickup this week, especially with Mosley getting hurt. You got to be going to look at him.
Yeah, so if you're talking about number of snaps, it's crazy on how much Arizona was on the football field.
Yeah, well, they had that overtime, so they played 5 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you got guys like a lot of Minnesota players. You got Harrison Smith was on, considering they played so well, Harrison Smith was on the field for 78 snaps. That's crazy. Guys also like Eric Reed, Luke Kuechly, they were on the field quite a bit yesterday. What's a pretty decent game on the defensive side. Pretty cool to see that. Again,
I was kind of surprised that some of the bigger name linebackers like Kuechly and Wagner, didn't really put themselves over the top this week.
Well, you got to think about it. So Kuechly's had Thomas Davis next to him. Look what Thomas Davis did.
Mm-hmm.
With the Chargers. Shaq Thompson had a good game, but it's almost like Kuechly's had to have so much that he had to do. He still had a good week. I mean,
yeah, he had a good week. You're right. I was just surprised he didn't show up in our studs column, facing the Rams, who like to run and throw over the middle a good bit.
I said that was going to be a decent game no matter what happened.
Mm-hmm.
But Cam Newton, what did he do? I mean, nothing really. So,
dude, Cam Newton. Here's the guys who let me the fuck down yesterday. Cam Newton, Jameis Winston. I mean, those guys didn't do shit yesterday. It was bad. I mean, I lost. Like I said, I lost almost all my matchups. Those were my quarterbacks I started. I mean, it doesn't matter what the rest of my team did. I came up against a Sammy Watkins and a Derrick Henry here and there, but I mean, it wasn't even competitive because Cam Newton's out there doing nothing for me. I think he scored me like less than 15 points. And, I think Jameis Winston ended up with less than 15 points. I mean, I got buried, and I'm sitting here with Lamar Miller and Dak Prescott on my bench, who both are just blowing up.
Oh, man, I did start Lamar Miller in the one league. I had him. Dude, yeah.
I bet that felt great.
It did. Oh, man, he blew up, and I was like, man, I'm glad I listened to Sam.
5 passing touchdowns.
Yeah, Lamar Jackson went bonkers.
He did.
Just really, I'm glad I didn't have to play him yesterday, and I know a lot of people that did.
Yeah, looked like a real quarterback out there.
Yeah, let's talk about Josh Norman. Had 75, played 75 snaps yesterday. He didn't do anything, nothing. I mean, so Adrian Amos, though, a lot, from Thursday's games, we kind of stay away from Thursday's games. I mean, he played 88% of snaps, or maybe even higher than that overall. He played 73 snaps on the defensive side of the ball with an interception. He was at clutch interception at the end of the ball game. So pretty cool to see that go happen. And I mean, pretty crazy first week, guys. I mean, that's as much as I can say about what happened this week. And it's only going to get better.
We'll be watching these games tonight. We got 4 more teams to play, so we couldn't cover everybody today, obviously, but We're gonna be back on Wednesday. We'll do a live cast on Wednesday to everyone who's listening to this Wednesday evening. That'll be a little bit more free flowing, I guess. We won't be quite as structured, but we'll be talking the upcoming matchups. We'll probably talk some rankings. We'll probably break down what happens tonight there a little bit. But yeah, as far as today's show, I think we pretty much covered everything we wanted to, hit studs and duds, hit the injuries. Follow us all on Twitter. Jared's at Jared Gray. I'm at 50 Shades of Drunk. Steve is at The Dynasty Chef. We'll be putting out content all week for you guys. We wanted to get this episode up today on Monday, so you guys can go ahead and listen, kind of start sifting through your lineup, sifting through your waivers. Prepping for next week. And this is our inaugural episode too for the IDP 411. But I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be on here with you guys. I think we had a good show today. People just hit us up on Twitter with some questions or anything like that. But as far as my coverage goes, I'm pretty much sure that'll wrap me up for the IDP 411 today, guys. What about you?
Yeah, I completely agree. Again, we're part of expandtheboxscore.com.
We have an awesome team of dudes that are working hard for you.
Happy to be here again, like Jordan said. Just a proud team of the IDP 411 group. All right, guys. Until Wednesday.
Yep. Till Wednesday.
Later.
Take her easy.